So that doesn't mean that, you know, you have your premiere and that's it, all the efforts go away. No, you're still going to, you know, within release and whether you're looking for distribution or not, you're still going to be keeping up that audience engagement. Often if you are looking for a distributor, they're going to start looking to see how many people are talking about this, you know, how many people know about this. They start looking at numbers, they start doing Google searches to see how many hits are we getting of people that are mentioning this. It's very easy tools to use to find out, is there any buzz on this? You know, does anybody know anything about this? If they can find a pretty engaged audience, a community of people who are anxiously awaiting, you become so much more attractive as a buy than somebody who's done nothing, has nothing out there, waiting for somebody to pick them up. Then they're going, well, you know, we might not, we might, and we won't give you anything up front, and we'll see what we do. They're not going to work it the same as you, so their amount of audience engagement is going to be less. You would still have to be doing that even with a distributor. But if you choose to do the route where some part of direct distribution is part of your plan, and I really hope filmmakers are doing that. If you're doing all this work to get an audience, why are you going to turn that money and those people over to this middleman who's not going to do that work, but who is going to be collecting money? What they should be doing is expanding your audience beyond what you have done, and they do it with money more than they do it with labor. I assume what you're going to be working with mainly is labor and not a lot of money. So that's why I say start really tight and core, because that is easiest to reach when you have a little bit of money. But you're still going to be doing efforts, you know, throughout the release, and new opportunities will come. You will find new tools online and ways to use them. Sometimes you'll hear about them from the audience that you've been talking to. You know, media opportunities will come to you. One example of that is when I was doing this Joffrey release, we didn't use Pinterest from the start. It was kind of just coming up or getting popular when we were in release already. And I looked at it and I go, well, we have all these photo assets and there's all kinds of stuff on the web to do with ballet and things to do with the Joffrey. So I opened up like boards for different themes and put pictures there. Well, we got asked back in the fall, before it played on PBS, by a woman who's writing a book for Entrepreneur magazine about Pinterest for business, using Pinterest for business, and she wanted to know if she could use the Joffrey account as an example in her book, which doesn't reach the ballet audience in particular, but it definitely expands, you know, your coverage, your reach beyond that. And those are things that you can't anticipate when you're doing this. You know, these are opportunities that just come along, and if you have already laid the groundwork for it, you can take advantage of it. So there are lots of you know, these kind of things that it'll, you know, still be beyond that 6 months. It could be another year that you're still working the audience, and but you're actually in sales. Then you actually have the effort is going to go into driving traffic and getting money.
I mean, Sheri, do you find that we see enough success stories with sort of like one-off films? You know, like if the filmmaker puts in all this effort and it's mainly just for one film, is that really enough time? Is this enough audience building? Are we going to see do we see enough success stories, or is this really something where it needs to be more than one film? It needs to be one film led into the next before we really start to see the fruits of all this effort and labor?
Well, yes, I hope that most filmmakers that we know and who are doing this are doing it because they have more than one film in them. Sometimes I think that the ones that don't is because they had too high of expectations. They didn't have they hadn't managed their expectations out of what was possible for their first film. Not everybody's going to be Beast of the Southern Wild. You know, that's not the model. That is the anomaly. It's, you know, more likely that the first couple of films you make are going to be very small. They're going to have very limited success. You have to be very careful with a budget when you're doing that. But I would rather see you expect to be small and grow bigger than expect a huge explosion and it doesn't happen, because then it's money loss, disappointment, disillusionment, self-doubt, all those things that crush you and make you fearful of doing anything in the future. It's much better to start small, expect less, hope to get more, but expect less, and build on that. Everything you're doing is building for your next thing, building into the future, keeping those people that are with you and transitioning them, not letting everything fall to the ground, wait several years, try to get it going again. That's so hard. That's so much wasted effort in the first thing that you did, and now you've got to start it again. It becomes really daunting. Do I think we hear enough case studies? No, because most of the mainstream media that covers the film industry is not covering these kind of stories. So that's why it's great. We have Film Courage, that we have Filmmaker magazine in some ways, individual people's blogs that we can read about these films that we probably wouldn't have heard of, especially if we weren't directly in the target audience, but for sure that they're not playing in the local cinema. They're not going to get a broadcast deal and play widely. But that doesn't mean that they haven't had some form of success or something that they can share as an experience that people can learn from. And those things that when you're teaching somebody, they remember about you and they seek out, you in the future. So I think that it's the job of all of us to try to work together in supporting one another, that we are not all in competition with each other, that the name of the game is not greed and taking from other people in order to make ourselves bigger, that really the promise of the internet is being able to make connections and connect lots of people and be supportive in general. You support them, they support you, and we all grow. We all have the potential for success when we think that way. It's a very radical thing I'm saying. I know it sounds very new age and love-in or whatever. Totally not Hollywood. I'm cool with not being totally Hollywood, but I know that it works. I know that you can grow and succeed by helping other people. So I encourage people to just do that mindset shift a little bit, that it's not so selfish and more self-giving will prevail, that you will see success out of it.